Hi, I'm Joanne Young. Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be learning how to draw a face. We're going to learn how to draw the eyes, nose, and mouth, the ears, and then the placement where they go on the face. We're going to be using pencils, so let's get started. You'll be needing a piece of white drawing paper. The first one we're going to be needing is for practicing. We're going to be using our pencil, a number 2 pencil, an eraser. This is a 6B pencil for shading. And then we have some stumps that we'll be blending with. These are paper stumps that are in a point that you'll use to blend to get different values. And then, of course, we need a sharpener. Now, on this first piece of paper, we'll be practicing drawing eyes, noses, and mouths. So we want to draw fairly large so that you'll have space to learn how to draw the details. When we draw the first eye, I want you to make a frown for the top of the eyelid and then a little bit flatter on the bottom of the eyelid. In the corner, there's a little pink section of tissue. It's called the tear duct, and we'll shade that in a light gray. On the bottom eyelid, there's a little shelf, and that's what the eyelashes come off of. We are going to add an eyelid fold. Your eye folds back into the face when it's closed, and when it's open, you'll see a little line above it. And then we're going to make the iris, and the iris is the colored part of the eye, the brown, green, or blue part. And it's a circle, but it's not a complete circle because part of it's cut off on the top under the top eyelid. So here's a nice round circle, and you can see the rest of it will be cut off above the eyelid. The pupil is the black part of the eye that you see with. And then there's a highlight. And a highlight is a reflection of light on the eye. And whenever you're drawing a person or an animal, you always want to look for the highlight. And they're in different shapes. Sometimes they're circular, sometimes they're rectangular shaped according to what your light source is. So just for demonstration purposes, we'll make a circle for our highlight. Fill in your pupil black, leaving your highlight white. The iris of the eye is filled in so that the strokes radiate from the center, sort of like the rays of the sun. And this will be a medium gray. If you're drawing a blue-eyed person, they usually have a darker rim around your iris. So let's go back and we'll darken up the rim if you're drawing a blue-eyed person. Some people have difficulty deciding which way to make eyelashes go. I'm going to show you an easy trick so you'll always get them going the correct direction. If this is the tear duct and it's closest to the nose, you always start your eyelashes on the opposite side and you make what looks like a cup, so that if you poured an imaginary glass of water, it would catch in that cup. If I did the eyelash going this way, it would be wrong because it wouldn't catch that imaginary glass of water. So we continue making our eyelashes, going across and stopping right about even with this section of the iris. They don't go all the way across down to the tear duct. Bottom eyelashes come off of that little shelf, and they're going to also start on the outside corner of the eye, and they curve toward the outside of the face again, stopping about even with this section of the iris. Now, if you're drawing a model or someone who has on a lot of makeup, you may have a darker shadow, and this darker shadow would be cast right along the edges of the eyelashes, so just thicken it up and make it darker. Sometimes the eyelashes will be thicker where they come off of that. And sometimes you don't even see individual eyelashes, you just see a shadow. So whatever the person is that you're drawing, you need to look for that to see what makes it look like them, whether you have individual eyelashes showing or whether it's just a shadow. The eyebrow always starts right above the tear duct, so come above your tear duct and make several hairs going straight up and down. And this eye, if you're looking at it, is the left eye, so the eyebrow hairs will lean to the left. That's a good hint so that you'll always have your eyebrow hairs leaning the correct direction. And notice that they go past the edge of the eye, getting narrower on the outside edge. You can always go back and add more hairs to fill it in, but they always would be leaning to the left. And I'm going to label this one left eye so that we can refer back to this after we have finished this first practice part. So when we start drawing our person, you'll have a reference. Now, the right eye, we're not going to draw it here because we don't want it to look like a face yet. We're just going to be practicing eyes. So we're going to come down under here to do this one. Once again, make a curving line and then a flatter line. We will add the tear duct on this side this time, and then add your shelf on the bottom, your eyelid fold, your nice big round iris that's cut off underneath the eyelid, your pupil, your highlight, and then fill it in again. Pupil's nice and black, and the highlight's left white. Radiate from the center like the rays of the sun on your iris shading. And if it's a dark around the rim, you know it's a blue-eyed person. Okay, now based on what I told you up here, the eyelashes will start opposite the tear duct on the outer side of the face, making a cup. So once again, we'll do exactly what we did above us on the left eye. Stopping here, bottom eyelashes curve toward the outside edge of the face again. Stopping right along there. Once again, if you need to darken up the top eyelid to make it look fuller or thicker, this is when you would do it. Eyebrow, right above the tear duct, several hairs going straight up and down, and this time we lean to the right because it's a right eye, going past the edge of the eye. Notice they never touch the eye. Eyebrows are always above the eye, never touching it. And let's label this one right eye. Now some of you have probably done noses that looked more like cartoon noses in the past. You may have done some that looked like an L shape, like this. You might have done some that looked like a pig, a piggy nose. Or you might have done some noses that look like this. And all of those would be recognizable noses, but our nose does not have any lines on it. These are all cartoon noses. So we're going to learn how to draw the nose correctly. We're going to start by making the nostrils, and the nostrils look sort of like tear shapes. So we're going to make two frowns, first of all, that are close together. And then we're going to put our pencils here, bring it around so that it becomes a tear shape. Fill them in black because that's the darkest part of the nose. Now we said that there were no lines on the nose like the cartoon lines, so we're going to be using what is called chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is spelled C-H-I-A-R-O-S-C-U-R-O. Chiaroscuro just means shading with your pencil to make shadows. Now there would be a chiaroscuro shadow coming here out of the eye socket on the nose, and then coming around the sides of the nostrils, and then between the nostrils. So we're going to be using this technique, and you want to draw as lightly as you can. Starting up here in the eye socket, we're going to make very, very light lines slanting this way, and notice that they're going to stop about halfway down the nose. On this side, they'll slant this direction, which is different than the first one. very lightly and very close together, coming about halfway down the nose. These are coming out of the eye socket. The eye socket would be right in here. Then you'll have some very light lines curving around under the nostril, but not touching the nostrils. Just very light, short lines. There's also like a little smile connecting between the nostrils. Then you take your blending stump, or you could use your fingers, either one would be fine, and you want to blend so that this becomes a shadow, not a hard line like on the cartoon noses. You want the lines to be very soft as they curve in. And this, of course, would come all the way over above the eye socket over here. Sometimes you'll see noses that have a little bit of a roundness right in here. The shadows and highlights are very subtle on the nose to give it roundness so it looks like it's protruding from the face. Noses are not hard to draw, they just take a little practice. So some of you may not have ever made a nose correctly, and you'll just need to practice it several times till you get the hang of it. Now, you may not know what the little section that comes under the nose is called. There's a dip that runs from your nose tip down to your top lip, and it's called the philtrum. The philtrum is a very light little dip, and it's done by making multiple smiles back and forth very, very lightly, and then blend, and that's called your philtrum. Okay, now let's learn how to do some lips correctly. There are some things about the lips that you need to know. First of all, the top lip is generally darker than your bottom lip. There are a couple of reasons for that. You start by drawing uphill, make a little dip, and then go downhill. That's the top of the top lip. The bottom of the top lip follows exactly the same, narrow in the corners, larger in the center. Now the reason that the top lip is darker is because it's slanting toward the teeth and it's under the overhang of the nose. So that means that the bottom lip is the one that's going to be catching the light and reflecting it. So there'll be a little reflection and be lighter on the bottom lip than on the top lip. Okay, so there's your top lip. The bottom lip slants in, and then connects at the bottom. Where the two lips come together is the darkest part, and I'm going to go to my darker pencil. This is my 6B pencil, and this is the darkest shadow right in here where the lips come together, where they meet. And then the little shadow right under the base of that bottom lip. And just a smidge coming out from the lips where they meet. The rest of the lip is very, very light. And notice I'm leaving a little bit of highlight on that bottom lip right in here, so it looks like the light's reflecting off of it. I'm going to take my blending tool, little blending stump, and blend very softly on that lip. Okay, now sometimes people will have their lips smiling. So lips that are smiling are not hard to draw. Teeth are not hard to draw. You just want to stretch it out. So we're going to make the top lip longer. There's a little dip in the middle and then back down long again. So the top lip is stretched out for a smile. Shaded in medium gray. And when you draw the teeth, you always start with the two that are in the center. They're the biggest teeth, so you have to make them fairly wide so that the other teeth will be the right proportions. So you start in the middle of the lip, and we're going to make our 2 front teeth, and they're going to look like big old buck teeth. The teeth on this side and this side will each get smaller, and they'll get thinner. So this is tooth number 3 and tooth number 4, tooth number 5 and tooth number 6, tooth number 7 and tooth number 8. And those are in the corners of the mouth. Now generally all you'll have showing will be about 8 teeth in the front. Now some people have a larger or wider smile and they may have more, but generally you'll have about 8 teeth that are showing. If you have more than that, it means you didn't make these first 2 teeth wide enough. Now the top of the bottom lip is going to go right under those teeth. And then the bottom of the bottom lip is wider in the middle, narrower on the sides. Shade this in lightly like we did up here. Leaving a little bit of highlight on that bottom lip. And you can fill in inside under the teeth really dark, because that would be darker where the tongue is under the teeth. Okay, so now that you've learned how to draw a top lip, a bottom lip, a smiling lip, a nose, and 2 eyes, you're ready to take these and you're going to be making a face from it. So before we do that, we need to learn where to place these on the head. So turn your paper over on the back and we're just going to make a placement chart. And the easiest way to do that would be to make an oval shape. And we're going to make that shape divided in half, because that's where your eyes would go. You might not have ever looked at someone closely enough to realize that the eyes are in the middle of the head. Sometimes when people are starting out drawing, they tend to get the eyes up here on the forehead, but they're actually right in the center. If you're looking at someone who's bald-headed, you can see it a little bit more clearly, so check it out the next time you're looking at somebody. Now I'm going to draw the left eye on this line. And then I'm going to show you how to make the second eye match. Some of you may have drawn eyes before and you've had trouble making them the same size. Maybe one's larger or smaller than the other one. Maybe one's higher or lower. So there's an easy way to get them to match. There is enough room in between your eyes for another eye to fit. So if you measure your first eye that you just did and come across that same measurement and mark it off, that's the empty space between your eyes. Then measure it a second time, come across and mark it off, and that's where your second eye will go, and it'll be the same size as your first eye. Now I'm going to go ahead and make just a very light sketch where my iris and pupil would be located, because we'll need that location in just a second. Now the nose will be halfway between your eyes and the bottom of the chin, so we're going to make another imaginary line, and that's going to be our nose line. That's where the nostrils go. So there's my 2 frowns turned into 2 little tear shapes. The lips are halfway between the nose and the bottom of the chin, so that would be where the middle of the lips are located. So I'll make another imaginary line. This is my lips. And the way that you know how wide to make the lips is you come directly underneath the edge of the iris. Come directly under the edge of the iris, and that's where the corner of the lips will be. Top lip goes above the line, bottom lip goes below the line. Now it looks sort of like an alien right now. There's a lot of empty space up here, and what goes up here would be eyebrows, forehead, and hair. while we have our chart, let's go ahead and mark off where the ears would be located. I want you to feel where the top of your ear is. It's even with your eye. The top of the ear is even with the eye. The bottom of your ear, if you feel it, is between your nose and your mouth. So you already have this marked off over here, and let's put the correct placement for the ear. Starting here, there's the top of the ear, getting narrower as it goes down to the lobe, and it's going to end between your nose and your mouth. The inside of the ear comes around, goes down, and comes back up. Now let's get the placement for the neck. Sometimes people make necks really, really wide and thick. Sometimes they make them too narrow, but there's an easy way to know where to place the neck on the face. And if you feel underneath your ear, take your fingers and just feel under your ear, and that's where your neck starts. So you already have the ear placed, and you'll just start under the neck, under the ear, and come right down the edge of the face, and that's the correct placement for your neck. Okay, so now you have learned how to draw the facial features and where to place them on the face. So the best thing to do would be to get a photograph to work from. It could be one that you already have. It could be one from a magazine. And the first thing you always want to do is you want to analyze. Look at everything carefully. Check to see what the eyes on the person, what they look like. Do you see highlights in the eyes? Do you see individual hairs? What shape are the eyebrows? Do you see a little shelf on the bottom? Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. So you want to draw what your person has that you're using as the reference. There may be a light source that's only shining on one side of the nose. So if that's the case, you wouldn't have any shadow here. You would just have shadow on the opposite side. You want to look at the mouth and see if it looks like this, because some people have very thin lips. Some people have wider lips. And you want to see what makes it look like them. When you draw the picture, you want to start in the middle of your paper and begin with your left eye. So you would draw your left eye in the center of the paper. You would measure across and mark it off. And then you'd have your right eye. So get everything on the eyes done first. And then you draw the nose second, and then the lips would be third. Once you have that, you would go around the edge of the face and make the U shape for the shape of the face. Now I've already done one to show you how I've incorporated the things that we've just talked about. We want to see, here are the eyes in the middle of the head. There's the nose using the shading techniques we talked about, the chiaroscuro, and the lips. Notice that the top lip is darker than the bottom lip. The ear placement is correct, and here's the U shape for the face. And there's the neck. Now notice I did shading on the sides of the face using chiaroscuro to make the cheekbones, and underneath the neck to make the chin look like it's coming forward. Then I use the side of my pencil, holding it like this, to get the hair. And it's just a nice outline of the hair first, and then you go back and fill in where it's darker. And typically hair is darker next to a part or next to the neck. You can use your blending tool to shade in. You can have some highlights. As you can see, I left some highlights here. You can also make a neckline, whatever neckline you would like on it. And that's how you finish up a picture of a person. I think that you have learned a lot today. You have been able to look at a person and analyze. You can see how the eyes, nose, and mouth and ears are drawn. And I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to having you in our studio again sometime soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.